It's 6 o'clock and I'm calling this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's YouTube channel. Just a reminder to the audience, whether you are presenting or just commenting on an agenda topic, please come to the podium and wait to be recognized by the mayor, stating your name and address. There's a 7-minute time limit. Non-agenda items can be presented under citizens not on the agenda, but will not be discussed by the council. Above all, please show courtesy and respect at all times. Thank you. Move on to a roll call, please.
Cindy Anderson.
Mike here. Dan Wozniak.
Deb Molly. And noted Mayor Pro Tem Marianne Wainwright absent. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4. Approval of the consent agenda. Council, were there any questions on the consent agenda?
We can wait until the end of the night if you want, but we need to revise the council minutes for 113, 120 and 24 are fine.
So,
There's a couple of inaccuracies that need to be corrected before they're submitted.
okay, is there any preference on how we would do that normally? Correction to the minutes.
He can mention it, and what needs to be corrected anytime during the meeting, and then I'll put it in these minutes and then correct the other ones and then show the council the corrected ones. Next meeting.
I guess the only other question I have on that is that, didn't we approve the meeting minutes for the 20th last week? When we had our special,
At the special, they were on the agenda, yes.
was there a change?
20th?
Yeah,
I'm not talking about the 20th.
no, I know, but they're in there again, I just wondered, did it get changed, did I need to worry about something else, or they just were in there twice?
I think they just got duplicated.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
Or do you want to mention the corrections now, Mike?
Yeah, if you want me to. Number 1, and this is on the citizens on the not on the agenda. If we're gonna list the people that spoke, we need to list everybody or nobody, not half the people that spoke. So there was a few people that spoke that weren't mentioned in the minutes. So if we want to be more vague and not mention people by name, that's fine. Otherwise, we should find out the other people that spoke that were not added on the minutes.
Okay, great.
And then number 2. This is a couple paragraphs after number 6, where we're talking about the possible breach of the confidential employee information. I think it needs to be corrected that it's not the mayor that discussed the possible breach, but she's the focus of the possible breach. Everything else is fine. And then on that subject, I know we corrected the minutes from 1/8. I think that was the date of the special meeting, but I never saw a revised copy of that, and I don't believe any of the other council members did either. So I think we all should get a copy of that to make sure they're accurate.
On the 1/8.
Yes,
You're referring to, okay.
yep.
Oh, that's in. Yep, I think so. Okay. Any other questions on the consent agenda? If not, need a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to reports. Council, note you have the sheriff's report in your packet. And I have one comment. Well, a couple of comments. First, we start under, we'll go with Eric. Eric, you've got a couple of things in there that you might want to explain a little bit to the council, please.
Cindy, if you could pull up the. Which one?
This one?
Oh, that's just the report. Sure, you've all read that for the month.
This one?
Yeah, is that the documents? And I didn't bring my readers, so.
Oh, this is the first document you had in there about the evidences. It's not filled out.
Okay. So, just a reminder, you know, we've been looking at dividing the properties at 607 and 609 Hillview Drive. Currently under an HOA, transferring it to a 0 lot line. all that legwork has been completed. We do have, the covenants, lawyer documents to have signed by the both homeowners. And they're gonna have that done, and I just wanted to briefly explain it, just so everybody's clear on it, if you can scroll down to page 4 or 5. So we fully understand what's going on in case council has a question. It'd be a picture diagram of the foundation and the property layout.
Grab this.
Okay, there's the first one. This shows the property being split with lot pins done by the surveying company, Frame Engineering. The second photo, and this is where we'll stop, and we probably don't have to read the rest of this, but I wanted to provide you guys with the documents required to do this procedure, as it is a new procedure for the city of Fairfax. This is a foundation break line. This is the party wall or separation wall between the two properties. So now this effectively will make it a 0 lot line and 2 separate entities. These folks are in dire straits of getting this done, as insurance costs have gone skyrocket. And this will make it like any other 0 lot line and requires the transfer of all this information to be recorded, deed, quitclaim deeds, all of this stuff has to be recorded with the county and state. So the reason for presenting this is because on March 10th, I already have the resolution in place and on the agenda already. So that we can make quick action of this. Giving you guys as much time and information, but we'll make quick action of this on March 10th for resolution. And that's all I have on this topic, unless you guys have questions.
This is what was a while back.
Yep.
Okay, so you've been.
Yeah,
All
so
that,
yeah, the documentation is
great,
pretty crazy, and
looks like it.
it needs to be, it's a forever document. The covenances were drawn up by the lawyer and reviewed, so that it protects both the current owners and the new potential owners down the road. For an example, let's say the sewer collapses, if that sewer crosses both property lines, it's an agreement tied to the property to allow that to be dug up, and no one can say, no, you can't touch my side. So these things have to be in place. The water services are separate, but the sewer is together, so that's why it's a concern. So those legal docs had to be drawn up. They are ready to be signed, and I know both of these homeowners will sign that by the end of this month. And all of that will be presented. They have already signed all the other documents required, even with Lynn County, with a seal of approval. So that legwork's already done. They've already paid their $75 fee to the city to keep this marching forward. So look for March 10th that we have the resolution action taken care of, because this is what needs to happen. So help these folks out.
Eric, are you aware of any other situations similar to this that will be coming forward?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, this is contagious. These folks have been pretty patient as we go through all of these documents to make sure that T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Just up the street, there's gonna be a couple more. There's a lot of weird little homeowners associations that are just two parties. There are much larger ones, as we all know, in town, and that's gonna come too, I'm pretty sure. It's already been brought to my attention by several homeowners that I don't wanna say they're waiting to look to see what happens, but this one definitely has a microscope on it, so we're doing our due diligence to make this correct for recording purposes. Anybody else? If not, we can move to the second topic I have. And this was basically answering a question.
Is there docs about it or no?
Yeah, there's should be that.
Family rental
So,
arrangement.
yeah, the rental lineage is what it's labeled as. Simple diagram they drew up.
Looks like a triangle or, well, not a diamond.
Diamond, yeah.
Nothing's coming up.
not loading, is it?
Sorry.
Well, I even put color on it, so it's really cool to see it. Well, I can describe it. So I was asked to give more of a better definition of what would
Oh,
be,
there you go.
there it is, right there. Look at that, folks. So in this definition, on the top for us back here, they can't read it because I'm sure there's other people like me. Grandparents at the top, sibling parents to the left and right, children and grandchildren at the bottom. And this is what I feel is probably the most correct thing to do in our current rental situation in Fairfax. I did add some more definition in there, if you choose to read. It also says the word step, because that by definition, coming from that same situation myself, only requires one parent to be biological. The exception to this would be adoption, because that's out there too. So if I adopt a child, I should be able to provide for that child as I'm required to anyway. So this is the diamond formation that I think the family, renting to a family member lineage should only go. It shouldn't go any further than this to uncles, aunts, and second cousins and all that stuff. We're not getting into that, it's a mess. And that also states that everything else in this town that is in exchange for good money services should be considered a rental. I have looked at towns east, west, and north and south of us, and again, I'm gonna bring up the wit, they had the same problem. I presented that last time on this discussion, and this solved the problem. So should you be so fortunate enough to be able to provide for a house for your child, your mother, father that's aging, or your grandson or daughter, I think that's fine. And I hope this answers a lot of the council's questions on the definition that should be implied for the city of Fairfax on a rental. And in closing, that's all I had.
So I think that's one of the things that I was concerned about families, but I did look up, this might conflict with Iowa Code 414.1. I don't know if something superseded it since it says 2018. A city shall not adopt or enforce regulation or restriction related to the occupancy of residential property that is based on the existence of familial or non-familial relationships between the occupants of such rental property.
So in summary, do you feel that none of this should be allowed, then lineage should be thrown out?
I don't know if we can. It's not,
Well,
it's not what I think.
Each town has their own regulations on how in depth they want to do for rental. For instance, if I wanted to do a rental inspection that clearly stated, I just want to make sure you have glass in the windows, and that's good. And that could be our weak, but ineffective rental program. Now, when you bring in who's qualified to be considered a renter, that's where the city has the power. And I don't think that the state code can oversee that.
I think that state code is about, cities can't say you can't live there. So I just have a little bit of experience from Springville. They had some houses that had lots of people living to, it was a single family residential, and there was lots of different people, whether they were related or not related. So that council attempted to write a definition of family, which is like, that's a gospel, where you just have so many different versions. And that's where we ran into, you can't say they can't live there,
No, that's
Because
not
that's-
the same.
414 is talking about occupancy, not rental. I think this is two different things.
No, if the homeowner is occupying regardless of family in there or no family, then it's not a rental because the owner lives there.
Can you read that section of the Iowa Code again?
A city shall not, after January 1st, 2018, adopt or enforce any regulation or restriction related to the occupancy of residential rental property that is based on the existence of familial or non-familiar relationships between occupants of such rental property.
Yeah, so we're not telling them they can't live there. We're just making a decision whether it's classified for our rental inspection. For an inspection or not. I'm not an attorney, but I think that's,
I agree.
And this is all inspection based.
yeah,
It's a geared to
occupy, yeah, yeah.
This is merely, and that's a good point. I want to stress, this is for the inspection purpose and what is deemed a rental for inspection purpose. Maybe that would help clarify your question, Dan, but I think under that regard, rental inspection, that's whether I go in there to see if it's safe or not.
Yeah, I think in principle, sure, whether we can do it or not is a different story, so I think that needs to get. I get what everyone's saying. But
I'd be more than happy to research the heck out of that angle as well. I mean, it needs to be clear and well defined, I 100% agree. So I will work on that if that's what your recommendation is.
Are you saying other cities have the
Yeah.
capability?
DeWitt is the most cut clear,
You said DeWitt.
DeWitt, Iowa, yeah.
Okay, I guess to Dan's point, you can ask them and ask if they're had it reviewed legally or had any legal challenges to it.
And that was gonna be my first thought, because that's gonna take the least amount of legwork, have the least resistance, not gonna lie.
Right.
So
We don't
I'll
have
work
any-
on that.
We don't have any limitation on how many people could live in a rental either, do we?
There are requirements, yeah. How many people can live like in a apartment?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, you gotta have bedrooms and you can, I'm not saying you can't have bunk beds and stuff like that, but you can't have people living in the living rooms. Bedrooms defined by a minimum requirement square footage. And bathing facilities per bedroom. And I can search that up, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I can definitely bring that to as a requirement. The research it. I mean, you can't have 30 people living in a bedroom apartment. If that's what you're referring
Well,
to.
that's on it, yeah. Several years ago, we had a situation come up where there was suggested there was too many people, but we didn't have any regulations, so I was just curious, so.
Yep, there's means of egress, so I can go right into the safety aspect of it for a fire emergency situation, if you're tripping over people to get out and. I mean, that's
But it's spelled out in our rental.
in ours. I don't believe it's spelled out in our rental, no.
Oh,
But as far as if we're gonna cite Iowa, then I'm sure I can find that and I'll present that.
okay.
Is there any other homework that would need to be assigned before we try to get something moving on this? I'd be more than happy to, it's my job, so. All right, and I'm gonna move on back.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
Bet.
Then I had Brian add something to his department report about 76th Avenue and Williams. Brian, could you maybe go up to the podium and speak to that a little bit?
Refresh my memory, which one?
76th and Williams, instead of our agreement with Layton was to,
Oh, the street repair? Yeah, so, during the summertime, they had agreed to, do seal coat, Williams Boulevard, 76th Avenue, all the way over to Lefty Road. And it worked for a short time and then it started failing. As the summer progressed, it got worse and worse. Lynn and Chris, I believe, were talking to Scott Ladwig and they agreed that the road was not going to sustain continual traffic as it was going forward for several more years. So they decided that QTS was going to asphalt that section of road at their cost as soon as they could. They were hoping for the fall. That was not gonna happen with the schedule with all the other stuff that they were repairing, so they come back in with the seal coat, did another patch job on the worst stuff, which did not last very long. But they tried their best before the Thanksgiving storm came in. But because they didn't get it done right away at the end of the fall, then sometime in the spring when the plant opens up, they're planning on asphalting just like 76th Avenue is now. all the way from the Crandall Railroad tracks, or the left rear tire. So that would be a fairly nice road when it's done. No cost to the city. Just so we know, but I'm sure there's gonna be some headaches during the construction process of that, so. We'll have to have some discussions when that gets closer. Maybe we can work out something where they can do it at night, where it disrupts the traffic portion during the day. Less, it's gonna be one of my suggestions. But I think it'll be a nice addition. Something we tried from the get-go to get, but it was unsuccessful then.
I had Brian bring that up for two reasons. One, it's not part of the original development agreement with Layton Construction, so council would have to give an opinion on whether you feel the development agreement should be modified. And then secondly, I don't think that it's been brought before the council's attention previously, so just want to make sure you were informed.
Brian, will we have something in writing from Layton stating that they'll do this?
I can mention it to have them do something, sure.
That could be in lieu of revising the entire development agreement if it's something.
Sure.
I'm willing to put that in writing.
So I can absolutely reach out and see what they say, or I'm sure that they do something.
I would think.
Yep. No, I can do that.
I think that there's some emails back and forth, but nothing official.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Will part of the area be in the county?
Yes,
So are we gonna get sign off from the county too, as part of the documentation?
yeah, Brian, coordination with the county.
That's fine, and I think they may have reached out to them to get their blessing on it from the get-go, but yeah, we can definitely follow through with the paperwork and making sure that that's taken care of. I'll check into that tomorrow.
And just one more thought, if it happens while school's still in session, the school buses, college
Yes.
community needs to know too.
Yeah, we'll notify school about it, if, I don't know if they have a route that goes that way, but we'll let them know for sure.
Council, did you have any questions or comments on any of the department reports? Thank you, Brian.
Sheriff. Yep. Sheriff Watson.
No, are you here to provide the report or to keep us company?
Here, for the report.
Okay, please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Williams from Lynn County Sheriff's Office. Here to report that we have required, or hit the required hours this month, 78 hours with a calls for service, amount of 71 calls for service.
Council, do you have any questions for me, Deputy?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will move on. Item number 6, discussion of possible motion to approve the 2026 steel pole pricing. The Prairie Road Builders is here, talk to us.
Good evening. I'm Randy Kramer. This is Ethan Potter. We're from Prairie Road Builders on the Hazelton. And over the past many years, we've been giving you quotes and stuff on your chips, on your streets for chip seal. Just for some information on a few of the new council people. When the weather straightens up, we usually go around. We'll go around with Brian, look at the streets, see which ones would need attention. We'll get everything written out. Get a list back to the council for approval. And then we'll just, once we get the approval, if our bid's accepted, then we'll come in and do the work and stuff. The prices here. We give you two prices, one for chips that we use. Like on East Cemetery and West Cemetery, there's some other streets. And then the pea gravel, pea rock for the stuff downtown, like. And then our price for the cold patch is on there. And the cold patch, we do any, like wheel ruts, any potholes and stuff like that. But from last year, we had on our chip price there, we had a 2.75% increase. So we went up 8 cents. from last year. And on the P-Rock, there was a 3% increase, and that was 9 cents we went up. Cold patch went up $9 a ton, that was 3% increase. Excuse me. So yes, once we go around in the spring, like I said, we'll get everything, and if we do a block, just for instance, like street one, our first street from A Avenue to B Avenue, that's gonna be a price on a line item with their total recommended improvements. And we'll have your prices and all stuff on the price column there. Looking at this proposal, and all we're looking for is a signature tonight to lock the prices in. This does not mean you have to do any project at all. It's just that if you do the project, this will be the prices that are locked in. So, any questions for us?
So we have two quotes. Anyone here from Helen? Brian? You wanna just talk briefly about the two quotes and couldn't tell if they were apples to apples or not.
Best I can tell, the Pelling quote, I never talked to anybody, they just stopped by, dropped the quote off, which is typical. That's what their pricing is for the year, and so, we just, the best as I can tell, the first part of the, Pelling quote was for if they do a significant rehab portion to it. That was the more expensive one. The second cheaper one, I think it was what, $365 or something, was what typically was what Randy does. Same idea, they do the minimum repairs that are needed and then just seal coat over the top. We usually look into it a little harder if we have significant issues anyway, because that's probably not gonna be an accurate number anyhow to do it correctly, so. Right now, I don't foresee anything out there that's needing that significant of a repair. But that's typically where it's been landed for several years.
Do you have a recommendation for the council?
Recommendations to go with Prairie Road Builders.
Council? Do you have any questions?
Prairie Road Builders.
Let's put a second, all in favor? Of course. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Randy?
Cynthia, will you sign them and send it back in?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, next we'll move on to item number 7, which is to consider a resolution to approve pay application number 5, Heartland Heights Park Restroom and Pavilion Project. Peak Construction, okay?
So this is the pay application, the pavilion and the restroom up at Heartland Heights Park. They've been working, as the weather's permitted here throughout the winter, and hopefully we'll get the project wrapped up in May. Maybe before that, if the weather's good. Any questions on the pay app?
And the amount, Shane, is 44.
44,146.50.
Is this the final or are we
No,
expecting
no.
more? Say that again, I'm sorry.
It is not final.
Do you have an idea of how many more we can expect between now and May?
I'd say at least 2, maybe 3. If they do a little bit of work every month and they finish it up in May, then you usually have, final pay after pay the retainer, so. Could go in June.
Are they still finishing up the inside? I mean, I know the area around.
They didn't, I think they still need to do some plumbing, they need to do the paving. We wanna make sure the frost is not enough before they pave the slab drain and the sidewalk. But they got, for the most part, they got the pavilion up, they've been starting to put in some siding, they gotta put in the under portion of the pavilion, they got the framing up, but.
If we look at the second item, looks like the original contract total is 236,701.
Yeah, and then there was a $750 change order for the doors, if I recall correctly,
Yeah,
that the council considered a few months ago. And the total project cost is 237,451.
we're still in line with that.
Motion to pay deconstruction.
Second,
The resolution, so I need a roll call, please.
aye.
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 Thank you. Continuing with Shane, he's been, making some updates to the capital improvement project list as recently as this morning.
So. I had a chance to meet with Joe Ryan, Cynthia, and Mayor Beer this morning. Just running through the. CIP, get their feedback, and the opportunity to coordinate with some, on some numbers with Cynthia, but, so I updated, I handed out the CIP, based off some of the updates I was able to make this afternoon after our meeting, but there's nowhere near final yet, but, in the numbers, I started playing with a little bit based off that meeting, but they're not final yet either. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of let you know how we move things around a little bit, where we're at. So then hopefully next month we can have the numbers finalized and everything ready to go. So I'll just run through, obviously the primary stuff is in 1 year CIP. We did a little bit on the 5 year CIP, so I'm just kind of looking through it from top to bottom. If you have any questions, just let me know. But yeah, the first couple is West Cemetery Road. Bridge replacement project that we got bids on here in December. Council acted on that here in the last month. That started in June. Then the intersection project that's kind of tied along with that, the boomerangs that we're working on. Those numbers need to be cleaned up, but they're just existing projects that are still on, still in progress, so we can keep it on 1 year CIP until they're finalized. The new water supply well number 4, that project is almost done. We're waiting on, some test results, lab results, and, that we've gotten from the water samples. And, if you recall, LRE did, some monitoring on some of the existing wells. And we were able to, Brian and I were able to meet with them a couple of weeks ago, go over kind of their preliminary analysis on that. There was one well that was significantly impacted, so they actually stopped the water pumping, the well pumping. So based on that, we're probably gonna have to do a little bit more investigation and some possible well mitigation. Moving forward, we're not exactly sure at this time what there is with that. But there may be some additional costs with that project until I get more detail. I can't tell you what that may be at this point. One good thing is we do have some money available in there, some ARPA funds, SRF funds, so, hopefully that'll be adequate to cover that. But until we get that in more details, I can't really tell you what it's gonna be at this point. And the fourth row there is the design for the water supply treatment facilities. And that's kind of been on hold as we progress with well 4, getting water samples. So as we wrap up well 4, hopefully that can move right into design with that project. Sanitary sewer point repairs. So we're in the second phase. We're finishing up the plans. We're gonna meet Brian here in the next week on that. We get that out for competitive quotes. We do that work here this spring. Was the plan. That was budgeted with last year's CIPs. The money's there for that. The next line is the third phase of that, so that'd be for design in late fall, winter next year to be bid. Or to get quotes and then do construction hopefully in the spring of 27. Next line down is the Vanderbilt Street improvements at the UP Railroad. So if you recall that project, we're looking to get funds through the DOT. In participation with the UP Railroad. We met with the UP Railroad and the DOT a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, I believe. They indicated that funds are available. I gotta verify exactly what that means, if they're available this coming year or if it's still a couple years out, but based on our discussions at the meeting this morning. The way I had the CIP before was we had a little bit of funding. For coordination, admin, so forth. Thinking that funding was until a couple of years out, we moved that all up to 1 year CIP. So I still gotta look at those numbers and stuff, but I basically took it off of the 5 year CIP and moved it all up to 1 year CIP. Building addition at the existing fire station. Brian, correct me if I'm misspeaking here, but it sounds like that project's pretty close to done. They're gonna be finishing up here in the next month or two. They've been able to paving to do and a couple of little punch list items. But they're anticipating that'll come in at around 275,000. The city had set aside, I think, around 330,000, so. The fire truck, the city's made about $120,000 payment, in the last year for the down payment, but there's still about 347,000 that needs to be paid here, so that'll be part of the next, this 2027 1 year CIP, fiscal 2027 1 year CIP. The tennis courts and pickleball court project, we got the bids came in good for that. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of leftover money from what the city bonded last year for that project that we can move around. What we're anticipating is additional funds that are available from that project can help maybe offset some of the funds for the Harlan Heights pertaining the restroom parks project, so. And that's the project that's listed right under there. So I've started, based on our conversations this morning, I started looking at those numbers a little bit. And they're not final, but they're somewhat close for those two projects. Project under that is the amphitheater at the city park and athletics complex. So that's something that Joe's been working on. We've got 115,000 earmarked for that to be done here next year. Men's and women's restrooms at Prairie Creek Park. So down there by the creek, not too far from the shop, there's a small park. We're gonna put in a restroom, I assume it'd be very similar to the one that up at Hawks Ridge at that park. Streets inventory, maintenance, repair, replacement plans. This would be to look at the city streets. And establish a plan that we can plug in street repairs, maintenance. And complete reconstructions on for the future CIPs and identify those projects and prioritize streets improvements. Minor street improvements along the US Highway 151. So this is basically from the TEEP report that was, the DOT funded a couple of years ago after they finished up the highway project. There's just some minor, flashing lights, stop signs, different things. That wasn't the 5 year CIP, but with, increased traffic from the construction projects going on, that's something we thought we'd move up to the 1 year CIP. The library building and parking lot expansion. Last month's meeting, Bruce Bolt with the library board mentioned $1 million, they're requesting $1 million. Participation for the city for this year, 600,000 next year, so I put that on the CIP based on that request. We do need some additional information, I'll reach out to Bruce on that, basically kind of where they're at with their funding, project cost schedule. So those numbers will get updated, but will reflect, that request in the CIP. And at the bottom of that 1 year CIP is the 80th Street and Highway 151 intersection improvements project. That's based off of the realignment of 80th Street and the traffic signals. As the council approved for the MPO, the TVG grant application last month.
Shane, you skipped over the Eagle View Drive.
Third from the bottom.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry about that. So the Eagle View Drive is the water main, basically connecting the water main, so we're doing water main improvements along with that intersection. West Cemetery Road, Eagle View, Highway 151 intersection project, so we're basically connecting the water main from the end of that project up and tying into the water main that was put in as part of the, I forget the subdivision name, but yes, yeah, exactly. There's water main it was put in for the city standards, but right now it's not connected to the city's water system. It's being served by a private well. So that would have to be, cleaned out and stuff before we can connect to it, but that basically connecting that section onto the city's, water main and those properties up to the city's water. And that's all part of connecting that water in as part of that original development agreement when that was developed 7, 8 years ago, or however long it's been now. Those numbers, I gotta look at those numbers too. Those will get revised, but anything else I missed on that first sheet or any questions? Thoughts?
Kathy, I have a question for you. Kathy, when was the library built? The original? You recall?
5 years ago, I think,
How long?
about 35.
35. How long did you guys, because I know this is an ongoing topic we've had, that it started having like maintenance and structural problems
Day one.
day one.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up, and I've said this several years now, and Bruce isn't here to answer my questions, that's fine, 'cause it doesn't need answered right away, but something I brought up before, and as we look on the horizon, like our 2 to 5 year plan with, the biggest one being the supply treatment. I still don't understand why we're considering a $4 million glass cube. It's almost like we've learned nothing from Kathy's experiences with the library that was built in terms of that. And the point I'm making is I don't understand why this is on the CIP when we've asked them to go back, the library, or to go back and design something within the budget of the donations they have. So considering what's coming in 2 to 5 with an average cost of $7.5 million a year. I don't know why we'd be spending any extra money on the library, 1 million now, 600,000 down the road. The bathroom at Prairie Creek Park that costs a house. Joe knows my disdain for it, use the creek like a big boy. Those are some of the things, and this is a question to the council too, and, we have $1 million that Mr. Churney donated, 500 to 700,000. That's potentially lined up to be donated additionally. Why aren't we staying within that budget of 1.7 to potentially $2 million to design something a little more functional? So you're not having leaking problems, you're not having window problems, you're not having, the issues that we constantly are going through with the library, because Kathy said, everybody talked about how great the design was and this and that, and no amount of lipstick is helping that turn out. So why would we do the exact same thing again?
Where'd you get 1.7? Where was the extra 7?
Did I say 1.7? I thought I said 1.6, 100,000, 1 million this year. Oh, you're talking about total donation, 1 million from Churny, and then Bruce said last month he has a possible donation of 5 to 700,000.
Okay.
And then whatever additional, grants or funding opportunities they come across. So that's a long way of me saying I'd probably cut the library and then the toilet down at Prairie Creek.
The library. I don't know. I think I'm missing, like I hear a lot of passion from the board. I think with some of the donations that we're looking for, I need to hear more support from the community before we write a big check.
That's the point I'm making. If you have potentially 500,000, 700,000 committed, and I know you're talking about they want some sort of thing from the city. Well, we already bought the land, we're already we're gonna, whatever am I trying to? We're providing the land and then also getting it ready for the building. We're not objecting to the building, we're objecting to the overrun on what they can raise versus what they had drawn up for them by whatever firm they use. I don't remember right now. Thank you. That's the point I'm doing.
The size of the addition.
The cost, I don't even care if it was like a gigantic pole building that they could just fill shelves and shelves of books. I'm not objecting to that. I'm objecting to, here's your budget. Well, they didn't even budget it. They said, just design something. Oh, it's $3.6 million or four, wherever it ends up being. We only have $1 million, potentially up to 1.7. You fund the rest instead of saying, we have potentially 1.7, let's design a $1.7 million building. That isn't a glass cube that's just gonna have the same kind of problems that we already have with the existing building.
I think at that point, you would have to take out the money this year and then give some back for them to go back to some sort of firm to draw it up. Because they wouldn't be, I wouldn't imagine you'd be ready to go spend 1.6 plus.
And that would be a question for the library, board, what discussions they've had with these at OPM. What,
Company, I believe.
besides the presentation they gave us, was it a year and a half ago now? What alternatives did they present, if any, to the library? Or did they just say, here's your $4 million cube?
I believe there was some conversations, but nothing,
Concrete.
yeah, nothing is drawn out as the pictures and the demo of people in the library. Does that make sense?
And I get it. That was something we asked them to do, go back and say, design something within budget, and if that was never done. I can't make them do it, but that would be a recommendation. I like libraries, but I like my water more, and 14 million bucks is no laughing matter.
Kathy, a question, all the money, earmarked for design was spent, am I correct on that? Correct, so they couldn't go back to
What
OPM.
was the budget on that? Do you recall?
25,000 out of lost.
I mean, I would be open to spending that 25,000 to get them to design a $1.7 million building. Cause that saves us, you know, $2.875 million.
So,
You currently have about, I think about $80,000 in lost unassigned for this fiscal year. And that is then also leaving 100,000 as your projected ending balance that we always try to do, so.
so without the library board here for discussion.
I
Challenge,
guess, we make that recommendation things to discuss it with the board. I am all in favor of the library for sure, but I was not a fan of the design that they did. I did not like it. It doesn't fit. I'm not a fan of it. So I think that maybe thinking some different options. And we've been saying it before, getting the citizen support is key. So we have to move on figuring out how the board wants to take that step.
I agree.
Because we don't have that knowledge yet. If we've got 5 people that want the library and 50,000 people that don't, then, we have a problem. So we need that knowledge.
So are we saying just write in some cost and loss to go back to OPN or someone else, matter.
I would say it's a discussion that definitely has to happen, and if they have some money that they can spend to do that, they can make a decision as to who to go to.
Well, I don't think they have the money, but I'm fine, we have lost funds available, I'm
That's what I
fine,
mean,
yeah,
if
I'm
we
fine.
allocate that for them to do that,
I'm fine giving them some sort of budget, but giving them kind of a hard numbers on what they can design for that. So like a hard grammar, not this pie in the sky thing, but here's what you think you can collect, design a building within that dollar. And if it's close, then, the council can consider whether we help get them across the finish line, but. I make a lot of glib comments, but at the end of the day, I'm boring, like infrastructure and toilets, flushing and drinkable water are all I really give a crap about. All the extra stuff, if we can, great, but when you look at our CIP, this is something even Kevin talked about when he was still here, we're in that funky gray zone where we're still kind of a smaller community, but we're growing and we have a lot of costs to get us over that hump, and this water treatment facility is a perfect example of that.
Kathy, do you know if the extra, the 600 to 700,000, does that have like qualifiers? The city has to put a X for them to match it. Because I remember that was a conversation at one point.
yeah, you've talked about different things. But as we need additional information, I'm willing to give dollars to go to maybe something else to design something, if that's what the board wants. I don't have a problem with that, but we need that community information, I think. And with the,
I've brought it up repeatedly at the board meetings.
I know, I am right there with you. So if we're serious about doing that, the board is serious about doing that, we can take some action items, some action steps to get it moving forward.
We will be doing a budget amendment this spring, so it would be easy to work that into the budget.
That would be this fiscal year
Yes.
rather than
Yeah.
next. So the CIP doesn't mean we're actually doing everything, but it's a projection, so council. Any feedback for Shane, are we removing? Or putting question marks by the library, and then also Mike had mentioned the. restrooms.
I would remove the library and I would remove the bathrooms at Prairie Creek, because the 1-year CIB is kind of a CIP. Is what we base our GO bond off of, that's what we're borrowing against, so I would remove those 2 items.
Move them to 2 to 5.
I would keep, well, you know me, the bathroom is never, ever. I relented on the amphitheater, the bathroom is never. And the library, I mean, honestly, for the library, I wouldn't put it to the 2 to 5 either, I would probably do the budget amendment on giving more funds. And if the local library board needs to come here and hear it again, to budget something within what they actually have funding for.
I agree with that direction for the library. I agree with the restrooms. Amphitheater, I don't think we're ready for that. And then my additional plug that 80th 151, we need a roundabout, we should do it now.
That works. Removing things.
It's direction, doesn't lock you in.
Direction doesn't lock us in anything.
It locks you out of adding things later financially, but you don't have to do what's here.
So just to clarify, I'll start with the 80th Street and Highway 151. The council's already approved that in the MPO, so that's what I got in there. I understand what you want, and completely understand that, but unless the council completely changes direction on that, that's the key to the CIP. The I guess clarification on the amphitheater, we have one mention of removing it. Well, other thoughts on that from council?
I don't think it's necessary either.
One, this is for potential GO bonds. We don't need to borrow for the amphitheater. That's already budgeted.
Yeah, it's
That
in the
already
current
has-
budget for loss, I think.
Yeah, because at the very last column, it shows dollars needed. The dollars needed is zero. We were not borrowing.
Right.
We're not bonding for the amphitheater.
Well, we've lost dollars for other times, like our fireworks.
Don't you dare say that word. No, I'm kidding. You want 100,000 fireworks. Don't just wait. We'll say.
No,
That's one thing I would say about the amphitheater.
Here, what year?
One thing I would say about the amphitheater is this, is that, Chase and I spoke about that today and where the location would be. Location should be somewhere at the complex. That's makes the most sense. However, if we had to, I think the smartest thing to do with that would be include that in part of the build out for the rest of the complex, which is on 2 to 5 year plan, where it started. And I'm wondering if maybe that's not a better place for the amphitheater instead of the 1 year plan.
So you would just say scrap.
And instead of a standalone project, put it in that together, so when you look at it in your building, yeah, you're doing the upgrade, that's where you can put it.
So you're suggesting have $100,000 worth of fireworks now? And worry about the amphitheater with a larger project? That's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, the other 1,500.
But I think that, the point is, I think it makes more sense instead of scrapping that, because there is a need for that. But instead of scrapping that, I think it makes more sense to have it
Incorporated into it.
incorporated with, with the additional growth down in that area.
And that's on the 2 to 5 year plan, about 2/3 of the way down.
Yes,
To be parking at the
yeah,
complex. Financial.
I just want you to tell me, what is it that the amphitheater will be doing?
well, for one thing it'll be doing is, it'll give us a place to have our music in the parks. Also, USA Days, we have an opportunity to use it. There's a host of things that can be done down there. There's weddings that can be done down, there's book readings, there's recitals. The music in the park, if Cedar Rapids has a symphony, a small symphony that they can bring in, and sometimes those smaller symphonies are, 8 pieces or something. It can also be used as an additional pavilion in that area. Which we're always looking for additional space for pavilions down there, so.
I can tell you Springville's got one, and like we had a celebration of life for a classmate there. Often it's in the park next to the school, but it is city park. But before homecoming, kids will gather there for group pictures and stuff,
Right.
Seniors go there for senior pictures, it's surprising how much use it gets. During their Springville Fun Days, they kind of run a concession stand out of it, It gets lots of.
So where would that be actually located?
Well, that's part of the design process, is where it would be located within the new development. So the new development will go from where, say, the dog park is now, all the way over to Williams Boulevard. So the other thing I would do is I would remind everybody of this, is when we built the complex, one thing that we were told was, I don't know why we're putting a trail around it. Nobody's ever gonna walk on that trail. No one's ever gonna use it. It's too big. We're never gonna use that big of a space. 13 years later, that thing gets used all the time. And we have found ways to use that facility that we never thought we would have done in 2013. So I say the same thing about the amphitheater. There's things that we'll do with that amphitheater that maybe today we don't see, but we will use it.
I know several years ago, there was like a lighted, parade kind of thing, but there wasn't a whole lot. So maybe that would be something that could be done there at Christmas time, because you decorate the park so cool. Something like that could be utilized, you know, band at Christmas or Santa came there or something. I could just see that. That would be so cool.
There is nothing that, that we can't use it for. The only thing that would limit us would be our imagination. And it's the same thing that, again, what we have done with just the complex in and of itself. You do so much there, so.
The cost estimate on that, Joe, was that based off of kind of like a pool building kind of building or?
That was based off of, Kevin and Lynn. Saying that's what they thought they could get it in there for. And the dimensions are, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do on the dimensions. It can be something as small as a 35-foot bandstand. Or it can be bigger than that, so. There's all kinds of things that you could do.
So you're suggesting moving it to the 2 to 5 and make it part of the.
I certainly
bigger
would,
plan.
I certainly would not just take it out because we don't think we will use it. If anything, I would move it to the 2 to 5 year plan. And I don't know if we have a spot right now to build it. That makes sense. With the new pickleball courts and the, tennis court going in, I don't know that we have a spot for it.
So you would just adjust the 2.45 million. Where it says city parks and athletic complex expansion to like 2.6 basically.
But just like anything else, that 115, very easily could be 135 in 3 years. So.
So, but
Get all
if,
that?
yeah, so the direction I'm taking on that is to incorporate it into the complex plans
Correct.
in the 2 to 5 year. And then in the library, I can work with Cynthia and Bruce. And on a little bit of funding to look at other options. But then another 1.6 city participation would go away. So we're with those numbers. But keep it on the plan or completely remove it, or a little bit of both, so.
I mean, I'd probably remove it for now. If we need to put it on the plan down the road, we can add it back.
Move it to the 2 to 5.
No,
What's that?
Remove
I'm talking about the library.
Oh.
Joe.
other feedback, or is that?
I agree that until they can actually show that population wants this library, they're interested. I agree with Mike that they need to show that they need. I think they will be giving them money for whatever. OPM, is that the name of it? Come back and do
I
something
think
in the
that's-
budget.
And it doesn't have to be them, they can pick.
Yeah, they can take someone else, but I think we need additional information, so I.
They should come back out, like, remove it for now, and they need to come back with concrete casts. I know there's another thing they mentioned about having a marketing firm. I mean, that's gonna cost a little bit to do, so maybe if they wanna ask for that, but.
Well, then there's also the other thing to take into consideration is Chris had talked about forming that committee of kind of a hybrid of the library and other some sort of revitalization of that area. And Kathy can probably speak on this. I don't think, has there been any input from them on that? So I mean, there's multiple things in play there, so I would say remove it completely until we get some reason to put it back on there.
So I'll just remove that from the CIP at this point then.
And the bathroom, don't forget the bathroom.
So then the next one is the Prairie Creek Park bathroom. That. 2 to 5 year.
Push it right to the creek.
How often is the Prairie Creek utilized that much to put in the bathroom?
A lot.
Is it?
I don't want a bunch of hippie burnouts having a reason to come down there playing disc golf. I already have to threaten them enough when they come in my property.
That's an accurate description of who plays this.
That's only 50% accurate. Now,
But in 2025, we had approximately, and I don't have it in front of me, but we had approximately 500 rounds of disc golf that was played. down there, so we had 197 unique players. And that is tracked by UDisc, which is a leading app for disc golf, so they punch in all their stats and everything on there, so it gets used a lot.
So right now you have like an outhouse, right?
Well, the outhouse isn't there anymore because it's winter time. The
Yeah.
outhouse is at the end of the Prairie Creek Bridge, Trail Bridge. It's at the end of that. Next spring, we'll put the outhouse back out there again.
There's also one at Prairie Creek and then the Trail Bridge.
Yeah. But the Trail Bridge is still there.
Yes.
Yeah, we left that up year round.
That's the one right over there.
You just have to walk.
Or
there.
maybe in front, yeah.
So the concerns that he's talking about, can you like put a camera to monitor if there's, you know, because obviously there's all kinds of drug stuff next to the park that I live at, so.
I might joke about it, but the real answer is I don't wanna spend 300 grand on a toilet.
No.
That's the real answer. I'm not spending $300,000 on a toilet.
The characterization of who plays disc golf is inaccurate. I will say that.
I think we can move on, change it to 2 to 5.
Yeah.
Push it to the 2 to 5.
Yeah.
All right. So then really on the 2 to 5 year, the last month Mike asked to push the rec center back to 5 to 10 years. We did that. The Virgin Energy. They had recently extended their, what is the grant?
The economic,
Yeah.
state's economic development funding.
Yep, so that was on the 2 to 5 year, but it was down at the end with that revised application said that they should complete their project by the end of 2027. So I moved it up to the 2 year, which basically would be next year's CIP, if there's any sort of tip participation or rebate on that. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but if it does, based on that, that time would be a little bit quicker. We had mentioned before, you can find the Vanderbilt UP Railroad crossing to the 1 year, we'll develop 1 year, so that came off this. I think on the CIP I presented in the last month, it had 2 of the 80th Street and Highway 151s, because we had one on there originally when we, planned that a couple, 3 years ago. But then I added the updated one based off the application that we submitted last month, so I removed that previous one that was on there. I don't know if there's anything else. I mentioned I moved up that side road improvements. That was like 35,000. Moving 2 to 5 years and 1 year. Brian, Cynthia, Joanne, anything else that you can remember? from our
That we talked
conversations?
about. I don't.
That's pretty much everything on that 5 year, but.
Yeah, I think you have changed everything that we talked about this one.
Any questions for that? Any other projects since we last met that you wanna see added to that or the 10 year?
Your average aquatic facility costs about $35 million. You thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, that's why I just said rec center, if you want to add a project, I would definitely be up that number, so.
Unless you want to give it a large donation.
Hey, I'll win the lottery one day.
All right, well, good discussions, I appreciate it, thank you.
That was me. Okay. So, Moving on to item number 9, discussion of the 27 budget. Any updates, Cynthia?
Well, I went back and, watched your budget discussion, and took note that I believe the council, wants to stay at the 810 for the levy. Is that correct? That is really the only thing you have to decide tonight. You don't have to make a motion on it, direct me. Because by March 1, I have to have that entered into the Iowa Department of Management's budget software for Lynn County to grab and put on those notices that nobody understands. I have not played with the numbers yet, but previously what we worked from their calculated general fund levy and then added the insurance amount needed to get up to the 810. I'm sure we probably have enough insurance to get us there, but let's say, because you can only levy for general fund insurance and road use insurance. So let's say our estimate for that isn't enough to get to the 810. We don't currently levy for the city's FICA, IPERS, or health insurance. Would be way over the 810 if we tried to levy for all that. So I know we have enough leeway on the different levies available to get us to 810. That's not a problem. Obviously, we just met today about CIP numbers. Shane's gonna give me an estimate of like an ongoing project, what we think will be done by June 30th, and then there's some carryover. So those carryover numbers will need to come into 27 plus the new projects. By your March 10th meeting, I'll have that spreadsheet updated with all that information. Another thing that I think happened at the February budget is you just kind of reheard some of the presentations from December. So I'll try to put those in. We're kind of later than usual, but you have your March 10th meeting, the spreadsheet and the state software will be 95% complete. I probably will have already talked to Maggie about some estimates about bonding. If we need to discuss it again, you have to have 2 special meetings on March 24th. One is just a hearing about that notice that Lynn County sends out. The other one is to set the hearing date for the full budget, and you can't do it till you have that other one. If we want to make that second one the last discussion that you would have, if there's any outstanding issues that I still need to research or that you want to still give input on, we could expand that second meeting to not, be 5 minutes but then after that, I have to publish the public hearing notice on the full budget. So really by that time, when you approve it in April, things don't get changed. Now, saying that, the only thing you can't change by a budget amendment after July 1 is the taxes. Okay, so don't think that, we overlook something trying to hurry it up, that you can't change it later, you can.
And Charlie will be here next month on the insurance.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And you mentioned the lost money. I don't think we've seen a report on that.
Well, there was
You
one
mentioned-
in the January,
Okay.
let's see, right, no, I had one in your packet in January, when I did that, updated the budget spreadsheet when I was here mentoring. But I will give another updated one for March. I didn't have a chance to get all the financials done, or you would have had one tonight. Yeah, so March 10th, be ready to discuss how to use the lost money. We've got some set things that we usually use it for. The debt payment on City Hall. 60,000 towards fire department debt payments. A commitment, for, was it 50,000, Kathy? Towards the library project, whether we wanna keep that in it again or not. The mini excavator lease is usually paid out of loss, that's like 18,000 maybe. Those might be the set things that are they have been consistent. But, there'll be quite a bit of funds that you can, prioritize for other things.
Do the sewer and water rates have to be locked in by the 10th, or are those change with after the fact?
We can change those anytime that we want. It's just the levy that has to be locked in. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we change the utility rates
Yeah.
late summer, early fall? So I would always recommend we look at them, but let those new rates go, close to a year or whatever, before you really kind of see what impact it had. Definitely, you should always look at rates at least once a year, but I don't think the changes took effect with the fiscal.
So as we're sitting here tonight, you're not expecting that we'll need, especially between now and the March 10th meeting for budget?
I would, unless you don't want to discuss budget on March 10th, but as long as you're willing to do that during a regular meeting, I don't see the need for a special, that's on the council.
As long as, so you have what you need for March 1st, the levy?
Yes,
So we're good there, okay.
yep.
Good.
And is everybody available that March 24th? I think we can send out the schedule quite a while ago. Because I have to that's part of the information for Lynn County too, is the date of our special for that hearing on the levy notice.
That's up 2 back-to-back meetings.
Yes,
And in past 2 years, we've done that volunteer committee meet and greet, but if we decide that we need to expand that second meeting, we may not be able to do that this year.
right,
Not on that same night.
right.
So keep that in mind. Anything else that you need from the council on the budget?
I don't think so.
Questions, council?
So you have your direction, we're all going to day 10.
Yeah, March 10th, you'll have the spreadsheet filled out in detail. March 24th, you'll have another opportunity if you want to have an expanded.
And then 24th, so we'll have the 2 minutes, 2 minutes apart.
Yeah, and if on the 10th, we're pretty satisfied, you can just have the 2 short meetings on the 24th and we'll just move forward with those numbers. Okay, very good.
All right, we'll move on to item number 10, discussion and possible motion to close the city clerk treasurer position. Possibly form a hiring committee. You've got a few things in your packet. Just for discussion purposes, but, suggest that we post that position as soon as possible if you're in agreement with what should be said.
Well, did everybody read the position description that was added? The 8-page one?
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, that's not gonna be put in there, I mean, I could just say, see.
But as soon as you post the position, people will ask for that. So
But can it be like an attachment or something?
oh, absolutely, it's not in the ad,
Oh, gosh, I kept thinking, what?
No.
Oh, no.
But what I was getting at is,
but it has to be in the version you want it to be.
yeah, for the people, when they call and inquire, what I was getting at is because there was a first draft posted on Friday that I didn't think was an accurate reflection of the description. This is obviously a lot more
Yeah, I
comprehensive.
have removed that. That was just some notes that shouldn't have gone out.
This one's a lot more comprehensive, and I think something that needs to be provided to any applicant. So unless anyone wants to change it, and as long as Cynthia thinks it's an accurate description, I would say provide. And I think it's under here under. Under current city of Fairfax City Clerk Treasurer job description, I think that should be provided.
Yeah, absolutely, people will ask for it. Based on actions earlier this year, I didn't know if council was still in agreement that this is an accurate job description. I would say it is. Typically, my staff and I, we review ours on an annual basis and make any adjustments.
And I know they do, so, yeah, I agree that it could change in the future, but for this job posting, the current description probably
So
would have.
if we, go to the last parts of requirements. Qualifications. So in the proposed ad, I think it says. Iowa municipal. Clerk experience, is it required, or I forget the wording on the possible job posting. So you want your posting and your job description to match, so. You need to be sure that you're comfortable with the qualifications and how they're stated.
I had come up with that rough draft of a posting. And. But that's just a rough draft at the moment. I had a couple questions that I had highlighted on there. And then I came up with something else that I thought, as we're going through. The CIP and other things is. A preference for somebody with TIP experience would certainly be desirable. And that's not mentioned at all in this. And then I provided some information on what has to be in place in order to be an exempt position. So there's a couple of questions there.
Right, and again, you're gonna have to know that before you advertise.
Right. So I'm just tossing that out to the council.
We talked about salary versus hourly. I would probably still lean towards the hourly.
I agree with that, because I mean, all the hours that she has to put in to get the budget ready, or whoever does the budget. Some people are not gonna wanna put in the extra hours to do whatever, if they're just a salary.
Say sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of doing salary, do hourly, because that's what it is now. Now, if she suggests, or some people suggested possibly going to salary, I'm saying stick it hourly. Because there's a lot of extra hours required for the position. And I think putting it as salary will discourage people.
Exactly.
Joanne, did you say that man was like 50-50 when you were looking at it?
Yeah, I reached out to Relief. They don't keep track of that specifically. What they did was just provide me the information saying that the position has to meet these qualifications. You have to supervise at least 2 people, which would be the case here. Your salary has to be X. And they do administrative type of work, and they came back and said, in our scenario, this position would qualify for exempt. That doesn't mean they were recommending, they just said it would qualify, meet the qualifications for it. I heard back, always my go-to city, Ely's, city clerk treasurer is exempt. So, but I did not get statewide feedback on this. So. That depends on the city's size, I think, and the responsibilities as to how they treat it.
Well, and also, you know, it depends on what you set that salary at. You know, if you look at what I make a year at hourly, if you were setting the salary for that same amount, you know, the person probably wouldn't have a problem. But you could get a person in here that, okay, my salary's 90,000. I'm only working 40 hours a week. You know, and suddenly what they're making per hour really has jumped. But. You know, you don't know what the actual person's going to be like, or their expectations of salary, but you certainly need to make this decision before you
Right.
advertise.
And the salary that I put in that rough draft was less than what Cynthia's making currently, yet reflects some level of experience, which I think is critical to us, just to not have a newbie come in, but have somebody with some experience. And like I said, I think saying, Cynthia, maybe you are more familiar, just say in the job description too, experience at all.
No, I don't think it does. I don't think it goes into topic specifics
He's
at all.
not just, you know, I
Right.
can still add things.
It doesn't even, in the job description, doesn't even require that they've been an Iowa city clerk. Says they have to be a high school graduate. Some college with office or county emphasis, and Iowa Municipal Professional Institute or Academy training preferred but not required. And then experience in office environment required, but it doesn't say a municipal office environment. But then with government office experience preferred.
I did go out to the Iowa League's website, because they have a job posting page, which we would want to be part of, and there was another community looking for a city clerk. Can't remember their treasurer also, but I kind of copied and pasted some of their words that they used in their description for what they were looking
Was
for.
hourly or salary?
I don't think it mentioned it. So.
So you're looking at the job description under financial management to add. Experience with TIP reporting and TIP certification, because it does say it in the job description. About responsibilities under,
Yeah,
yeah, but you want to add that to the job posting.
I would think that would be desirable.
And then do you want to change it to have required city experience or city clerk experience? And that will limit the pool. But conversely, it will also make sure that people that are applying are qualified for that position, because you're not starting them at the ground, you're working
All
up,
right.
starting at the top.
just so you know, that will not stop people from.
Not wrong.
Oh, you have criteria to, no.
So when you're saying required city clerk, you're not saying like a junior type role, or are you saying they're?
Well, it said here, where was it, you know, high school. Where it's office experience. Required with governmental office experience preferred. We can change that to governmental office experience required.
I think that's really important that. Again, we don't need Cynthia's 16+ years of experience.
30.
Or, excuse me, I meant in the city, but, yeah, I would be really. Hesitant to bring in somebody that had 0 city experience or maybe only 1 year city experience.
Because there's a lot of stuff in the business or civilian side of things. And if you put them in front of a TIF report and how government requires reporting, they pull their hair out, because it's a whole different.
So, yeah, we can,
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially I came from banking, and after the first day at Springville, I went home and laid on my bed and told my husband, what have I done? What have I done?
right, try to avoid that situation, yeah. And again, the salary range is just something that I came up with, which reflects experience, but not at the same level that Cynthia has.
So where under qualification B, you wanna change that government office experience to required
Yes,
instead of preferred.
that would be in the posting, yes, and then also in the qualifications, yeah. Governmental office experience required.
Agreed.
Very finding, and then the job description, Mike, is that what you're looking for?
Well, this is specifically in qualifications, which is the last page of
Oh,
the
under there,
current
okay.
city of Fairfax job description. But then within the job posting, under responsibilities, we would add TIF certification and God, I already forgot.
Is that a certification that you get?
The experience
No,
with TIF no, it's not a certificate, it's just experience with TIF certification and I can't remember the first part, TIF reporting. And then also add under. I still say hourly, but I haven't heard anybody else really hardcore go for salary, full-time hourly position, Monday through Friday, occasional evening. And then somewhere in there, add, you know. Under a requirement section, possibly, you know. Governmental office experience required.
Do you wanna put Iowa government office experience?
Yeah, that probably. Yeah,
You could put it as
We
preferred.
we had someone else with out of state government experience and that's still a little. Left a bad taste in my mouth, so I could understand wanting Iowa specific, cause every state can be. Very different in their requirements.
Do you want,
But if you have someone with a lot of experience,
Yeah,
that
and
is, that's
kind of
willing
what-
to move to the area.
Well, do you wanna do it this way? Iowa government experience preferred?
Yeah.
Preferred.
well, so government office
Preferred.
experience required, in Iowa.
Preferred, yes. Yeah, I wouldn't say no to someone out of state, but you know, if someone already knows. The Iowa system's been doing it for a long time, I think that would definitely be advantageous compared to someone from out of the state.
Do you want to put the or the hourly salary range in there, or just say based on experience?
Probably based on experience, leave it open-ended.
We do have a line on our applications that they state what they are looking for in an hourly rate, so that kind of gives us an indication before we even meet them.
Yeah,
I'd leave it on for now,
Yeah.
at least on the posting.
leave it, cause you can leave it open-ended
Open-ended,
and
if
then
they
like.
have that opportunity, then
Every hiring committee that I've been on, it has, like you said, some, what do you want for the hourly rate, and then the people that get crazy, no, well, sorry,
Desired salary.
yes.
Do you
You're
want
out
to
right now.
leave the position open until filled? Or do you
Yeah.
wanna give them a deadline?
I mean. I would say take the first batch, however long we set the, you know. Amount for it, but leave it open until we get filled. Cause maybe the first round comes through and we're not thrilled with it and. Instead of posting again, leave it open-ended, maybe someone trickles in that,
Sorry, what was the timetable you said, Cynthia?
Do you wanna leave it open into the state, open until filled? Or do you want a deadline?
I'd leave it open, yeah.
Right, I would, this time of year, if we're trying to attract a clerk that's somewhere else, we probably better leave it open-ended, because they wanna finish their job that they're doing now. And if you give them a deadline, they're gonna say, well, I can't comply with that, cause I gotta do my own budget wherever my, you know, so, yeah, open-ended sounds better.
When we get an ad revised, we'll send it out for review. Do you want to specify where you want it? Place.
I've got a list of suggestions, it's typical League of Cities, city website. Fax newsletter, bulletin boards with the standard, Indeed. Did you say once Quarter Careers is part of Indeed now?
No, Corridor Careers is part of the Gazette, I think they're associated with that. As far as I know.
LinkedIn. Does ClerkNet have an advertising component?
Oh, we could, yeah, sometimes people put on, now we don't have a LinkedIn page.
Yeah, we do.
We do? Okay.
Yeah, there's only like 3 people following it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can post it there.
City Facebook page.
Alright,
Speaking of which, everyone follow the LinkedIn page for the city.
get more traffic.
The Corridor Careers, I think when you sign up there, you get 30 days standard, for their minimum package. The Gazette, do you want to run it for 10 days? Do you want to run it for 2 weekends, 3 weekends? I mean, you know, they have whatever you want kind of packages, as long as you're willing to pay.
Like 10 days is fine, see what kind of response you get, and if you wanna renew it.
So remember, they only have printed copies 3 times a week, but, you know, they have people who have subscriptions, but it's not. They don't have subscription, they can't go pick up a daily paper to
Right, they've got their, they call it their Green Gazette daily and then print 3 days, but they all have classified. The day they do print seems to be just totally filled with all the public notices that the cities are required to do.
Did you say Indeed?
Yes.
Indeed. How long do you want to run it on there? Because it's. They're glad to run it as long as you want, as long as you're willing to pay.
I would say do just 2 weeks, similar to the Gazette and see where most of the applications come from, then we can narrow it down from there. If we only have one person say, I saw it, is that why run it again? But if a bunch of people are doing it on Indeed, then we keep posting on Indeed until it's filled.
Okay. Anything else?
Are you going to form the hiring committee today or?
Oh, Chris is in charge of hiring committees,
Okay.
right? Do we want to wait for him
Okay.
to return?
Okay.
Not critical until we get some applications. So potentially we just do it at the March 10th meeting.
I don't know if we actually decided salary or hourly, so I'll break the potential tie and just say leave it at hourly.
I agree with that. What do you
Okay.
think? Cindy?
I'm fine with them. See what
So
happens.
do we need a motion on all of this, Cynthia?
I don't think so. I mean, you certainly can make one that you,
Just providing guidance for the ad.
Motion to do everything we spoke about.
Watch the video for details, right? Okay,
So is that a motion? We do this facetiously or? Yes, you have the directions. Do you have any questions for the rest of us?
is that a second?
I said second.
Oh, you said second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right. Moving on, item number 11, discussion and possible motion regarding outsourcing payroll. Deb had requested this go on, and then I provided an estimate that I had already come up with, but I'll let Deb talk about it.
Well, Ryan sent out a message talking about how horrible it was that they didn't get paid. So it's like, if it's gonna happen again, we need to do something as backup. So I think this should be something that we consider. So this doesn't happen again sometime in the future. So $5,258.24 for a year is nothing compared to what we spend on everything else to make sure employees get paid every week.
I give you a little bit of input. The first payroll stumble that we had on January 9th was mainly due to the unexpected events, but also the bank was having trouble with their new ACH system. And then it was annual payroll, which Tina had never done. And to be able to train somebody, even an outside firm, to do annual payroll, it's, almost impossible. Anytime somebody new is doing it, you go through something and you don't do it again for 365 days, it's pretty hard.
That's why you hire a firm, that's what they do. That's what their job.
They don't know what needs to be changed for that annual payroll, such as regular employees that are also fire department employees now have to do, that fire department pay is a different IFRS rate. They have Aflac or, Globe Life withheld, that's not withheld. There's all sorts of different things that staff is going to have to be educating that outside source how to do that once a year. The other time that payroll did not get done, again, it was associated with the upheaval in City Hall and due to a stressful, hostile work environment, the other person that was qualified to do payroll could not be here. It was a 1-day delay, which isn't good, but I would hope that the environment in City Hall would never be that bad again.
Well,
And payroll has never been late in 16 and a half years. Another thing, the outsourcing, their payroll does not post to our general ledger, our accounts payable, our bank rec, or our payroll module. So they would do it in their own software, and then all of this stuff would have to be updated into our records. Like when we do payroll, it cuts the electronic check in our AP system to pay Fed FICA every payroll. And then if I tell it once a month, it will put the entries into AP for the IFRS check. And if I tell it quarterly, it does the AP check for state withholding. None of that is going to flow from their system into ours. And in bank rec, it puts all of the direct deposit notices to be reconciled with the bank statement. None of that would flow into there. And then our general ledger, all of the entries to the payroll expenses, the liabilities, into the different funds, none of that would flow automatically into our software. That's just the facts.
so the reason I had gotten these estimates was, last week I was to the point of trying to find where the paper checks were kept so that I could handwrite paper checks out for the same amounts that people were paid for the last payroll period. That was the point of desperation. But there's gotta be another way, regardless of the scenario. In the future, if the clerk is gone for whatever reason and the backup person is sick, we have to have a plan. But so this was something that I explored even before Deb asked for it to be on the agenda, because yes, and writing paper checks was about the last option.
Well, I will say that you did not reach out to either myself as a mentor to come do payroll that day, or any other clerk that's a mentor that knows our software. Those would have been the logical calls to make.
Well, actually, you had said you weren't gonna do any more mentoring, so that wasn't.
I said I wasn't going to mentor to do the newsletter.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so I wasn't contacted, and neither, and the multiple cities in Eastern Iowa use our software. And they could have come in and done payroll.
actually, I did contact Hagen and they declined, said they were too busy with their budget. So in any case,
So I guess this is just one example of a payroll company. But unless I'm mistaken, the 900 cities in Iowa, there has to be some payroll firm that knows more about how a city is lined up, at least with various softwares to which you're saying something, city A, B, city, whatever is using the software. So maybe future systems, nothing against that, but maybe they're just not the right partner. But, I think as far as like payroll to, have this as something that wouldn't be missed. It's not a I'm gonna say burden, but it's probably not the right word, but like a burden of staff to accomplish payroll at whatever frequency. Because I know there's two examples, one weekly and bi-weekly. That because in the grand scheme of things, the money to run payroll, considering if they did everything that we need to be provided versus the time that it takes to do things on our end, might as well go with an outside firm that can just process it, and contractually we are good for the rest of the year for however long we go. But I guess roundabout way of just saying, maybe. Maybe we keep looking for a provider, or maybe Future Systems just. Did you say you spoke to them or no?
I did not.
Okay,
I talked to them over the phone and they gave me these quotes, but I did not have all of the information that they would need to really do an analysis of our situation.
I think there's two things. I think we're trying to find a solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. I think there was extenuating circumstances in the month of January, self-inflicted mostly, but there's two things to consider. I've been here since the start of my 11th year. I have no recollection of any payroll problem prior to the month of January. Cynthia was here about 6 years prior to me. I have no recollection, or no one's mentioned to me ever. Joanne, you were on the council then, you can speak to it, you know, of any problem with payroll during that time period. And then thirdly, and I know what Dan's getting at, finding someone who has a more integrated system, but now you're paying someone to do our payroll. Then you're turning around and paying our employees to enter that information into our system. So now we're paying twice for something that can be handled.
Do we know that their system doesn't do those things that she's asking it to do?
I don't have that knowledge. We'd have to have them come talk to us.
So really, if you're looking for anything, I think the solution would be to find someone, to Dan's point, who has the ability to integrate that, and I don't know what that looks like. And two, only do it in an emergency basis. Where there is no one there.
And just know, if you find somebody who would be willing to be on call on an emergency basis for G-Works, we are switching software by the end of 26.
So, you know, 52 weeks a year, times 16 years, that's what, 520, and then 300, something, 1,000 payrolls that haven't been missed prior to January.
And they, when I had the brief conversation with them, they said they could come in on an emergency basis, but it certainly wouldn't be a 24-hour solution. It would take them a couple of days to actually do it. So. Someone's at the podium, but.
Paul Molly, Northeast Side Fairfax. My understanding is the payroll ends and then they're paid on Monday, which gives you 1 day to do it. I mean, to me, a simple solution is you have the payroll to maybe Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, like a lot of businesses that I'm familiar with. And then if they are sick or not available on 1 day, plus you have holidays on Mondays, or you still have more days to do it. And I think that would have solved a lot of problems other than having it on a Monday. 1 day to do the payroll.
I think the personnel policy, I'd have to refresh my memory. I think it says within 3 business days. It's just that we do it as fast as we can.
And employees are being paid through the previous Friday, correct?
Sunday.
Through Sunday, so that is an immediate, whereas the companies that I'm familiar with as well. You're not getting paid through like the day before.
But like I said, I think the personnel policy gives us up to 3 days. So according to the personnel policy, it wasn't late.
So the emails that I got that were sent out that were really very rude, were rude for no reason then.
Well,
Thank you.
the employees are used to being paid the first business day after the Sunday. And like I said, I'd have to
Just trying
verify.
to find a solution here is all we were trying to do to make sure that I wouldn't get rude emails anymore.
So worth considering, I think, especially where we're gonna have a new clerk eventually, that would be a time maybe to consider some other things that maybe the new clerk would not have to do, but just open for discussion and, potential.
I would like more information than on what the new system will be as opposed to what you have now and how those transition things can happen. Why are we going, I read G-Works is horrible.
The reason that we're changing software, that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
So, G-Works developed a cloud-based software that they would like every one of their customers to sign on to and switch over to. And they convinced many cities to do that. And it didn't work, and it still doesn't work. Their cash reports, I know one city that hasn't had a balanced cash report since January of 24. Their utility billing. It bills some accounts it bills double, some accounts it doesn't bill at all. I mean, it is fatal, terrible flaws. Most of the cities that had converted have gone on to other software, have left it.
So we're not in the cloud yet, we're
No.
still with whatever.
I have said, we are not signing until I hear 10 cities say it works. And I haven't heard one that works. So we started looking at other software. And Edmunds seemed to be a good fit, cost-wise, similar, and options. We did demos on several different companies. And truly, I wanted to wait for the new clerk to make the decision, but Edmunds last fall said that their conversion calendar takes about 16 months. So at the end of 25, we had to pay G-Works for all of 26, $12,000. And we had to pay Edmunds to start the onboarding process, which their annual fee will be about that same 12,000, but the onboarding, of course, was more for the initial. So they have started onboarding and made a commitment to the city of Fairfax that we will be up and running by December of 26. So we won't have to pay for 2 softwares in December of 26, just Edmunds for 27.
And this is the software that basically runs financials and like.
AP, utility billing, bank rec, payroll, general ledger, yeah. I went to some user groups with Edmunds. There's a discussion chat group about cities that are making the move and a few glitches. So I'm glad, again, we weren't the first. They have customers all across the nation. It's not like they're just a brand new company. So they have to make some adjustments to Iowa. Like formatting the file for the W-2s to submit it electronically to Iowa. They had to do some changes there.
EDMONDS or UA.
I think you,
yeah. Like,
yeah. So that's what we're at. They have, we've filled out several different questionnaires about our processes and what modules we use. They have been on the phone with me. They have downloaded a bunch of data to do some testing and some initial setup, and that's where we are. We're not live on anything yet. It won't be until the new clerks. Yeah. But I haven't heard any problems that a city had a balanced cash report in their last month on G-Works, and it still balances in Edmunds, so that's good.
So they, are they working together so you said you're not live on the Edmunds part of it, so you're still using the G-Works to do.
Absolutely, we'll still use G-Works probably until late fall. We're paid through 26 with G-Works. So, yeah.
so that's a good point too. If we were to consider a third-party payroll provider, logically, we would want to wait till Edmunds, I would think. So that they're not running 2 different packages.
Well, I would definitely make an ask then that Tina and or Stacy know how to do that at the event that. Anything.
Tina does know how to do regular payroll, just not that annual payroll. It's an unusual situation. And she participates in every payroll that we do. She and I do it together.
I know Stacy does utility billing and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. And Stacy can be the second set of eyes in payroll, but she has never been the person doing payroll.
Does she know where the paper checks are?
No. She pulls them out every month to do her, utility deposit refund.
So, this was a good discussion.
Yeah, we definitely, I agree with Dan that if we do something, we need to find something that actually fits with the system. So that it does not basically make you double duty.
Well, and plus, you know, you don't want to bring in the possibility of human error or intentional human error. You know, when we do payroll through our system and it automatically makes that those postings, you know, we know that it's the same everywhere. But they generate a check and somebody enters a check for a wrong amount or whatever, you know, and it just opens it up for not good things.
All right, good discussion, council. We don't necessarily need a motion here. Unless somebody wants to make things. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 12, which is, a resolution to set a public hearing date for that, fiscal year 27 tax statement that we talked about earlier, when we, present to the public what we're going to do.
This is
March
the
24th.
only thing on that agenda, correct?
Yes. And you don't take any action. You just hold the hearing.
The public can ask questions if they'd like. That'd be March 24th. So I need a motion to set the public hearing for March 24th,
And
Motion.
is it gonna be 6?
6 o'clock.
Cause I have to put the time in too. Yes.
Second,
Roll call, please, Cindy.
I,
Aye.
I,
Thank you. And then later on, we'll figure out, or we'll have a special meeting immediately following that, that we'll wait and see how we're doing with the budget to know how expansive that might be. And then also whether or not we do a meet and greet or whether we do that at different times. Okay. All right. Item number 13, the claims list.
Yes, I can.
Any questions? None, I need a motion to pay, please.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 14, opportunities for citizens not on the agenda. Person approaching the phone.
All my life, Northeast Fairfax again. Speaking as a resident sitting in the back of the room. In future meetings or at some point. Maybe it's a capital project, but I don't think it costs that much. Is there any way to get a visual monitor up here? I mean, it looks like you could run some hard wires pretty easily. Because obviously, I don't have my glasses. I can't read anything that's displayed. Sometimes it's hard to hear people. I don't know. It's probably not the perfect room for meeting, but I know you've been doing this for many years. Just asking, maybe it's been discussed before, but when you're back in the cheap seats, you can't see what's on the monitors. And I know from business that it shouldn't be that much to get some monitors back here that we could see. Thank you.
Okay. Duly noted. Technology upgrade.
Sound system at 40 grand.
We have discussed that.
Yes. Anyone else?
LASIK only costs about $1,500.
Now,
Ah,
What? What do you mean no?
no, I said now.
Oh, yeah, down.
okay. Don't see anyone else wanting to speak, so we'll move on to mayor's comments. Just a real quick little note here. I've invited to attend our March 10th meeting, Lynn County Supervisor Stanley Sheets he's not our local representative, Kirsten is. However, he is the, liaison with Marion and Cedar Rapids and the county for the proposed landfill expansion. And it's an ongoing work group, so I've asked him to come and just share information with you, council, as to what's going on with that and what potential impacts that will have on the city of Fairfax.
Did they say expansion where expansion of the existing one on County Road?
So he'll share the details of where they're at on that.
Yeah, that's kind of.
We go right
Yeah.
to 76, about.
Yeah, right? No, good. Very.
Okay, that's all I have for tonight. Is Chris still online? Did he want to say anything or did we lose him?
Chris, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm still online. I really don't have any comments, so thanks.
Very hoarse, okay. All right, Cynthia, did you have any additional comment?
I just thought I'd kind of run down where we're at. I've been working on payroll and sign-ons, contacted multiple business contacts to let them know our status. Had the CIP meeting. Reached out to the auditors today. They sent me a packet of about that thick of things to fill out, and they asked me to have them done by the 17th. That should be no problem. And I just got the bank sign on this afternoon, late morning, and so I'm working on the bank statements almost done.
Okay, thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
How are we doing?
That's like.
I just got it.